Hi. So, interesting how things come together sometimes as I am preparing and planning for coaching from the carpool. My husband comes home from baseball practice last night. He coaches one of our son's baseball teams. Comes home and he's sitting in the driveway. It's something he does when he comes home, especially if he's on a phone call, right? And I go out there and I get in the car and it's his uncle that's on the phone. And they're talking a lot about, just family and things that are going up. But his uncle starts to tell this story of a photo that he's looking for, that is of his son when his son played Little League baseball. And his son's an adult family, things of that nature now. So he said, he was an amazing shortstop. Nothing ever got past him. Man, that boy could get the ball and he could throw it. He was stellar at throwing and getting it to go where it was supposed to go. But when it came to hitting, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And it really frustrated him. It really frustrated him that he could be so great at this side of the ball, right? But when it came to being at the plate, he just kept falling short. And he goes, so I was at this game, and he goes, back when I had my, more 35 millimeter type of a camera, and I've got my camera, and it's I'm zooming in between the fence, and I've got this shot of him, and you didn't see it then. And he goes, well, and I wasn't, trained, I guess, to notice it when it was happening. He goes, but when we developed the picture, what we saw is you saw the boy standing at the plate. Great stance. And he said you could see all this concentration, and he's swinging with all of his might. And he's nowhere near the ball because his eyes are closed. We get off the phone. And my husband looks at me and he goes, dear, that's what you do. That's what you do, is you see the fact that somebody's trying to hit the ball and their eyes are closed when they're doing all the right things. You just fix what's off. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And this came from our conversation about talking with spouses. Because my husband watched it. My husband doesn't really watch them, but he watches a couple of them, and now he's starting to watch more of them. And he looked at me and he goes, I can't believe you shared that story, but thank you for not throwing me under the bus. I was like, well, I knew you weren't trying to be mean or cruel when you said what I shared with you. But it is interesting, how over the time that we have been building this business and been married, how he's put into framework what it is that I do. And I thought that was really a really important thing to share with you guys, especially if you are at a point in time to where your husband or your spouse is just not getting it, right? Is that just keep the conversation going, right? And if you want more, you can go back till tomorrow. But it's really, I start that off in a weird, interesting way about the number one important relationship in your business. And if you're just joining, I'm Leslie Hassler. This is Coaching from the Carpool. I own Your Biz Rules Business Coaching, and we do strategic coaching for entrepreneurs and get you to grow smarter in a way that means you can be home for dinner. I like that part. So this most important relationship you need to have in the business is really a relationship with yourself. And yesterday was a really, really stressful day, over the top stressful. And so I was worn out by the day, I got to tell you. And I knew that the thing I needed to do this morning was do a little meditation, have a relationship with myself, talk with God, pray a little bit, intuit a bit, really check back in with my sole purpose in what I am trying to do in my business and in my life and as a human being on earth. And it was so interesting because part of what came to me in this meditation was about foresight, wisdom, courage, and strength. And that's so, to me, like, related right back to what my husband was saying, and when he was like, that's so what you do, right? And it is. And I think the reason why, and this ties so much into so many things, my mastermind's going to be talking about time management. And I am formulating how to convey certain things about time management as an entrepreneur. You know, there's just some things that our world says we must do more. We must do more. You must do more. If you want to grow, you must do more. And that's really not. It's counterintuitive to what actually works, what actually is achievable, what actually leaves you with something left over at the end of the day. It's not doing more and adding more. And so we do get stuck into this busyness trap. And first this and that, I think I go through like 5 pages. And on every page, just the quote, "A busyness does not make a good business," right? And it's this trap that we get into when we don't take time for ourselves. Because for everything we were talking about, I do tell everyone that you're a little crazy to be in business, and I get that brand of crazy. I totally understand that crazy. But the crazy part of it is that you do have to have these moments of space. You have to have the ability to have the in-between. You have to have the ability to go inward, to heal a little bit, because I think as women, I'm thinking before I make this flat out statement, I don't know that I have met a woman who does not take failure personally, and have a hurt that is around failing in some part of their business. Don't know that I've met that woman who doesn't carry something. If you're going to be this courageous, if you're going to be exceptional, if you're going to be successful, if you are going to produce a legacy for yourself and for your family, you got to spend a little time with yourself. You really got to get in tune with who you are. Because as you up level, as you make that glass ceiling your floor and step into that space, you're working on yourself. It drives me nuts to have to always work on myself. It really does. But I always know that when I'm working on myself the most is about the time that I'm going to go through the most growth. You can technically grow your business, and that's what we talk about in the mastermind, is a lot of practical, tactical, brass nuts, tools and things you can work on and implement. But what I tell my clients all the time is be prepared for the mental up-leveling that has to occur in your brain, and give yourself some time and be okay with that. If it's prayer, if it's working out, if it's meditation, if it's, I do an exercise called the active journaling. It's kind of my version of prayer, because honestly, I have a hard time meditating, but there's a kinetic element to active journaling, and so I can zone in on that a little bit easier. You've got to do these things so that you can process information, because you're probably moving at a tremendous speed that most people don't sympathize with. And so you have to do your pit stops more frequently so that you can maintain your running order, so that you can sustain, so that there's something left over for you to enjoy, when you're 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. And if you're using this business to fuel a retirement, you want to actually have your health so you can enjoy it, Or heck, I don't know, enjoy some of it now. That's my moniker. Enjoy some of it now. Don't wait. So that's kind of where I'm leaving you with today, right? Is if you're calling yourself to have strategic growth, to be successful, to want more, and it's perfectly a-okay for all of that, then you're going to have to make sure that your relationship with yourself is top notch, because that will be the fuel for your fire. That will be the space in betweens where you come up with your great ideas, where you solve the great problems of the world, where you understand how to communicate something that maybe you didn't communicate as well the previous day. So that's today's coaching from the carpool. Tell me what you think. What are your practices? Like, how do you spend time with yourself? You know, what are your practices that allow you to have processing time, to have downtime, to have regeneration time, right? Healing time. What are those processes that you do? Let me know, because I think it's interesting when we share those information. Comment below. Like always today, guys, if you found inspiration, found motivations, heard something here that was just a comment that you think other women need to hear in their business, please share. Please share today's episode. We're here most Tuesdays and Thursdays about 2:45 as I hit the carpool, picking up child number 1. And I hope you have a profitable rest of your week. This has been Leslie Hassler with Your Biz Rules Business Coaching. I'll talk to you soon.